I'm Luke Melke, helping you master the art of filmmaking. Today, I'm wearing a shirt by Wood by Wright. If you haven't seen him on YouTube, you should check him out. We've done a video with him in the past. We're going to be doing some videos with him in the future. But today, we're talking about lens filters. And what is a lens filter? Well, they come in usually about two basic forms. There's the ring ones that you screw right into the end of your lens. There's also just slides. They're square, rectangular pieces of glass that you slide into an adapter that goes in front of the lens. There's advantages and disadvantages to each. The advantage of the ring ones is that you put it on the lens, it stays there, you don't have to worry about it. But if you're doing a lot of swapping of lenses, you have to have multiple different filters to go along with them. So that can be kind of a pain. You have to switch them between different lenses because not all lenses have the same ring size, and then that can be a pain. But if you're doing a lot of lens swapping, you can just use the slides, slip them in, slip them out as you need, and it's easier to put multiple filters on at the same time with the square rectangular slide ones. So what does a lens filter do? Well, there's a lot of different type of lens filters, so there's a lot of different things they can do. But the three most common ones that we're going to be talking about here are the UV, neutral density, and polarizing filters. So basically what a filter does is it corrects an image in camera so you don't have to do it in post, or it adjusts the image in camera. It might not necessarily correct it, but it gives more the artistic look that you're going for. Whether that's having a soft ambient light glow that goes through everything, they have filters for those, make the sky more blue, things that might be difficult to do in post, or some of them are even impossible to do in post. So we've probably all heard the phrase or used the phrase, well, I'll just do it in post. So why use a filter instead of just doing it in post? We have these amazing computer software now that we can just do everything in post. Well, that's not really the best way to do it. There are some things you just can't do in post. Some of these filters, they actually darken the image or make the contrast less, so you can't bring something back into an image that was never recorded. So some of these filters, they make it so you have quality and product in your image that you can't really bring back in post unless you're like a crazy computer animator and you can make something completely up. Which yes, you could do that, but it takes a lot of time. So just using a filter can save you a lot of time on set, as well as save you a lot of time in post. And you don't need to use nearly as much intense computer work. So if you're rendering something out in the end, it will render a lot faster. You don't have to worry as much about that stuff and bogging down the whole editing system. And also gives the director on set the ability to go, this is kind of the look I'm looking for. Yes, you can adjust the look in post when maybe it wasn't quite what you're wanting, but it's a lot easier to adjust an image when it's close than when it's way, way off. So that's why you really want to use a filter instead of just saying, I can do that in post. No, if you can do it on set, do it on set. My favorite filter is the polarizing filter. I have the ring circular adjustable polarizing filter, so I can actually adjust by twisting the outer filter how much of the effect I want to use and how much I don't want to use. So basically what polarizing filters do is it eliminates or pulls out the polarized light, which is what comes off of reflective surfaces like glass, water, and a few other surfaces. It doesn't work on metal. Metal doesn't have the same polarizing filter, so you can't reduce the glare off of metal. But pretty much every other surface, you're able to reduce the glare light, which is absolutely incredible. It also works great for making your skies look bluer or deeper by reducing the polarizing light that goes through the sky. We've all noticed we look at the sky and we see this nice blue and we put our camera up there, it doesn't see the same thing. It just looks kind of meh and it looks kind of just all white. Well, if you add a polarizing filter, it'll make that look so much better. So here's a few examples of what it does to water. If you look at water directly, it has this weird glare. You can't really see much through it. But if you put a polarizing filter on it, you can then go beyond that polarized light and you can actually see through the water. The water looks clear. I'm sure we've all seen photos where the ocean just looks incredible. You can see all the way down to the bottom of the ocean. But if you try doing that with your camera on your phone, it doesn't look that way. Well, because you can polarize and filter, you're getting those glares. So that's what the problem is there. So if you put your polarizer on, you can then see through the water. Another example is glass. If you ever try shooting through glass and there's any amount of light in the area, you're going to notice you're going to have a glare reflection. You'll probably see more of yourself in the glass with the camera than you will see of your subject on the other side of the glass. But if you have a polarized filter, you're able to reduce that glare. Here's another example from the film we did, Where Was My Guide?, where it was a huge difference between the glare and the not glare. of the glass. It looked absolutely horrible before I put the filter on. Once I put the filter on, I left enough of the glare there to know I was shooting through glass, so it didn't look like my subject was in a car that had no windshield. So I left a little bit there to make it feel real. That's where having the ring filter is nice, where you can play with how much of the effect you want to use. Another surface that I just found out recently is actually blacktop. Works really well with UV filters. We've probably all noticed when driving down the road, you have like these mirage effects and it looks like there's puddles of water on the blacktop, when obviously there's no water there because it's like 120 degrees out in the blacktop you could cook a steak on. We know there's not going to be water, but it looks like that. Well, with a polarizing filter, that goes away. A polarizing filter will make a blacktop look like, instead of a piece of white, shiny glass, is kind of what it looks like. On camera, if you put the polarizing filter, it actually looks black again. It makes it look like blacktop again. So a polarizing filter has a lot of other uses besides just water and glass, but you have to kind of play around with it to find the uses that work well for you. So one of the other great uses for a polarizing filter is making the sky look like a sky. We've probably all noticed when we point a camera with a sky in the background, the sky doesn't look how we imagine it should look like. We imagine it should be this rich, deep blue with the nice, bright white clouds, and the camera all just looks kind of blah, and it doesn't really have any life to it. It just looks really flat, and there isn't much deep blue, and the whites, kind of the clouds, kind of all mingle in. Well, if you're 90 degrees off axis from the sunlight, you can adjust your polarizing filter to pull out the blues from the sky. It doesn't work so well shooting directly at the sun or away from the sun, which you typically don't want to shoot that way anyway because of other lighting issues you can have. But if you put a polarizing filter in the sky, the sky will look much deeper, richer blue, and make the clouds stand out a lot more without really affecting the rest of your image of your subject. Another very common filter that we see out there is the UV filter. A lot of times I will just keep this on a lot of my lenses for a couple reasons. One, it's cheap. Two is it just helps protect the lens. If I have the expensive lens, I'm going to much rather have dirt and grime and possible scratches get on a filter I can replace for $5 instead of several hundred or even several $1,000 lens. Trying to fix those is very, very expensive and much more time consuming. But if my filter gets scratched, well, it wasn't that much money. I still would rather not scratch intentionally, but it's still not nearly as bad to lose that than the lens. The other thing that a UV filter does is it helps reduce some of the haze of just distance. Probably noticed if you're shooting a thing of mountains in the distance, it looks kind of hazy the further something gets away. There's just the haze in the air, the humidity and things like that start creating a haze long distance. UV filters can help remove some of that haze. Now it takes a pretty trained eye to really probably notice a lot of differences with the UV look, but yeah, I just really primarily use it just to protect my more expensive lenses. Now the next one of my favorite lenses is the neutral density or the ND filter. This is basically sunglasses for your camera. I have adjustable ones that adjust from 3 to 8 f-stops, which is really nice to be able to adjust it down. Now, but why would I really want to have a darker image? Don't we normally want to have a brighter image? Well, here's the reason you typically want to do something like that. If you're shooting outside and you still want a shallow depth of field, you really can't open up your f-stop too far without like blowing your sensor out. Or if you adjust the shutter speed, you can do that too. But if you have too high a shutter speed, you get other images with jittery images. So how do you have a shallow depth of field when you're shooting outside? Well, you put a neutral density filter on it. That way you're able to darken the image down, so you have to open up your f-stop and make your depth of field much more shallow. So basically it comes down to you want to analyze a situation before you get on set to know, is there going to be water, glass in the background? Is the sun going to be out? Is it going to be an indoor shot? Are we going to be shooting with a lot of background distance that you get haze? So you want to think through all of these things before you choose what filters you want. And the nice thing about filters is most time you can put multiple filters on top of each other, so you can have the effect of several of them. A problem if you start putting too many of them on is the more glass or plastic or gelatin or whatever your filter is made of is going to cause a degradation of the image. So if you put too many on, you're going to start noticing loss of quality in your image, as there's always imperfections in the different materials. You just can't make them 100% perfect. So if you're going to be starting to layer them up, you might want to get more expensive filters. That way you don't have to worry as much about your image becoming less and less quality as you add more. If you liked this video, please like, comment, share, subscribe. If you didn't like this video, I don't know why you wouldn't, because you really should.